Hey, loves.
Welcome to Sierra and Ryan.
Talk the talk. Sierra and Ryan Talk the Talk is all about putting book talkers like you at the center of the story.
We're here to dive in and find out everybody's main character moments. My name is Ryan at Rye_Brary on TikTok, and my stunning co-host.
I am Sierra at cc.b.reading on TikTok as well. Sierra and Ryan Talk the Talk is all about interviewing some amazing book talkers like ourselves and getting to know them for who they really and truly are. And today's guest, I'm excited about her, okay? I'm a big fan of her. I think she's so awesome. I love her candor. Of course, I'm talking about Beth from over at the Cool Table on
So cool.
TikTok.
Beth is cool.
Beth
Beth is
is very, very
cool,
cool.
matter of fact, very witty.
She's got cool. I think I love her hair. She's got cool hair. I think she's got a bob thing going on right now. I
Yeah.
think so. I just love who she is. Just she's very much just straight to the point, straight shooter. Those are some of my favorite people. They make me nervous, but they're some of my favorite kind of people.
And Beth has a podcast. Her handle, The Cool Table, is actually her podcast that she runs, which is really interesting. I was listening earlier to them talking about the Gilded Age, that new
Yeah.
show, which is cool. So
I checked out their website. I mean, they all kind of put in on the website, and they have different things that they're talking about, which I think is awesome. And especially because you're running a website, you need all hands on deck as much as possible.
every single one.
Okay, yeah. So I am just so excited to talk to her about not only books but pop culture. Talk about Bridgerton. I just really, yes, yeah.
Ooh,
So
I
I'm
love
just
it.
so excited. I can't wait to like have her come on and we just like get to
I'm
know who
excited
she
too.
really is.
Beth's so great because Beth also posts a lot of funny mom and wife kind of just not relatable type of things. There was a post about it was her birthday and there was an air fryer that her husband had bought and it was like sitting on do you remember that? Sitting on the kitchen table, and Beth made a TikTok that just had me on the floor rolling. She's like, this
Yeah.
happens to be my birthday and there's an air fryer still sitting on that table, hasn't moved. it just I just love that. I love when people open their lives up like that
Yeah.
so freely, and Beth is going to be a good chat today, I think.
Absolutely. With that being said, friend, I think it's time we have a talk.
I think it's time we talk the talk.
Hey guys, we are back and I'm so excited to have our guest here on the show. We have Beth from the Cool Table here. Hey Beth, how are you?
Hello, I am doing great. How are you?
We are excited to have you. I was telling
Very
Ryan, I'm like,
excited.
when we were picking out our list of people who we want to have on the show, I was like, listen, I need her on the show because I
Aw,
love her content so much. I love
that's
how
sweet.
you're just so matter of fact and straight to the point, like you're a straight shooter on TikTok, and that is so important to me. So I'm just like beaming to have you. Can you tell my cheeks are like?
Aw,
I am
thank
so excited
you.
to have you here. Now you have a little bit over like 9,000 followers on TikTok at this point.
Yes, it's climbing to 95, and I'm like, come on, 10. Just I don't even really care that much, but just get there. Just get to
Yeah.
10.
You and I are in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
When did your TikTok journey start?
I started June, I think, of 2021. So I had been lurking. Had made an account. In fact, the first followers on the account were not related to Book Talk. I was just following random people, and I decided we've got to start making bookish content because I have a website. We've done things for years and years, and we just weren't on TikTok because we felt too old
Yeah.
for it. And then we were just like, oh, screw it. We're not that old. Let's just do it. So I made my first post was about Bridgerton, and it went viral. It had like 250,000 views in
Wow.
a week or two. And I was like, okay, now I'm addicted. This is the best thing I've ever done. So
Beth, you just really hit like a major soft spot in my heart. I started TikTok in 2020, and I had like no followers until Bridgerton the musical.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Abigail Barlow and Emily Baird. This is like a TikTok musical. So you just said Bridgerton, and I started sweating, getting hot and excited over here.
Yeah.
Were
I
you
had a
talking
friend who
about the
was
show?
I was talking about the show. It's just like a 15-second, like, it's about Anthony. Like, that's it. Like, worried about season 2 or whatever. But I had a friend who is very much on TikTok. She's been watching everybody. She was sending me Bridgerton musical stuff as it was happening. And I wasn't really on TikTok at the time. I was like, this is cute. Okay. But I didn't interact with any of that. And then the first thing I ever made was Bridgerton, and it was popular at the time. Still is.
Wow.
Yes, we're gonna get to that in a second. But I wanted to ask, so you're the owner of the Cool Table.
Yes.
How long have you guys been doing it? Was there a reason behind it, or you just were like, let me do something fun with my friends? Was it that kind of thing?
Well, we started on January the 1st, 2020.
Oh yeah.
But I've been doing what I'm doing now, which is just online book reviews, entertainment reviews, Comic-Cons, all of that stuff. The same stuff we do at the Cool Table for over a decade. We used to work at another outlet called That's Normal. It was that's-normal.com. And that closed down at the end of 2019. The two girls that owned it are good friends of mine, and they were like, we can't do this anymore. Like, we're done with publishing on the internet. And so a few of my friends that had been writing for that with me, we were like, let's just keep going, and we'll just start something on our own and do it new. So 2020 hit, and we were like gonna be, going to cons and doing all of these red carpet interviews. We had lined up all of this stuff, and of course nothing materialized. And so everything we were doing was still online, which we were used to. It was just kind of a bummer in terms of like what we anticipated it was going to be like, but that's how it started.
Are you guys planning on? Well, I mean, no, the world is opening up again at this point, kind of. Are you guys going to try to do some of that stuff that you couldn't do in 2020 to do it now? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if the cons are all back, we'll go and do the interviews in the circuit that we've been doing for 10 years, because it's too much fun to just not do it at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, you just got me excited again. Comic-Con. I've never been, but when I lived in San Diego, driving to work downtown was the most exciting thing, because you're driving and you're at the stoplight, and all of a sudden Spider-Man is jumping across the hood of your car, and you're like, oh shit, So
is it
fun.
exciting to live there during that time, or is it frustrating? I would have to imagine it's pretty horrible.
I only lived there for like 8 months, so we'll take that with a grain of, I was 21 and excited, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that San Diego Comic-Con is the only place I've ever been where everyone is stoked to be there. Like, everyone is so happy. Yeah. It's just a lovely, lovely week. It's so much fun.
I've never been, but I want to go. I see them all the time, and I see all the cool costumes, but I really thought it was just kind of like just like literal comics, but you can kind of cosplay as anything to go.
Oh, for sure. You can cosplay as anything. But I mean, even the content of what the con is about is a lot of movies and television and art and all kinds of other things other than comics. So it's a really incredible time.
Now, I want to kind of transition, because you said you've been doing this for a decade, which, okay.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? Are these your interests of your own, or did you pick up a job after like college and were like, oh, I guess I'll do this for a little bit?
Oh gosh. Well, I guess it started with Twilight. Will that turn everybody off? But that's how it started.
Just one of us.
I was a fan fiction reader. I was in other like fandoms, and I have a degree in literature, so I was a classics girl. I was the girl that was recently like, read some Crime and Punishment, babes. That's how I was at 22. So I felt that's why my only video about that was like, I'm so glad I didn't have social media in my 20s. Because of how embarrassing. But when Twilight came out, I hated it. I was making fun of everyone that was reading it. And the movie came out, and my husband rented it, and we watched it. And I was like, oh, shit. I love this. I have to read this immediately. So I went and got the books at Walmart, because I didn't want my regular bookstore people to see me purchasing them.
Wow.
She was
That's
a
how
closet Twihard.
That's how ashamed I was. I read the books, and I started going online looking for fan fiction, because I needed more of those characters, but outside of the way Stephanie Meyer had written them. Like, I needed more. And in that process found a community of like a blogs and all of that with like people that were making fun of themselves for liking Twilight. And I was like, oh, those are my people. The people who like love it, but also are not ashamed, but like are making fun of themselves.
Yeah.
And what happened was I just kind of realized that I didn't need to be ashamed of what I enjoyed to read.
Yeah.
So I went from being classics girl, you know, Jane Austen and all of that stuff to being somebody who's like, oh, I'm going to read alien smut and I'm going to be cool about it and it's not going to be a problem for me. But the girls that I found in that process ended up being some of my closest friends. They ended up, you know, meeting Stephanie Meyer and getting to interview her and all of that because she did a lot with fan sites.
Yep.
And then they transitioned once Twilight was over from a Twilight fan site to a pop culture fan site and asked me to write with them and do all of that stuff. So that's how I got started a decade ago. It was like 2012.
So listen, I was also a Twihard or whatever they were. I was a team Jacob for sure.
Oh.
I was a fool for the body. It was the body.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let's talk about fandoms because I know that you do like a couple of reviews and you talk about Bridgerton, which by the way, I loved how you broke down the new images for the Bridgerton season 2, which I was like, she's going so in depth and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I'm not particularly a historical romance fan. Did you read all of the books in that series or are you just okay?
Yeah, I did read them all, but I didn't. Bridgerton wasn't really on my radar. I'd read historical romance, I'd read Regency romance, and I knew about it, but I didn't. She was a little bit older than the authors that I was reading. I wasn't reading stuff from the early 2000s or prior to that. I was reading stuff as it was being written when I started reading Regency. But I went back and read them all, and yeah, I mean, they're still not my favorite Regencies, but the show is amazing, and I mean, hands down one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. So you can't not love it if you care about romance novels because it is the way you want romance novels to be portrayed on screen.
Absolutely.
What made you love this adaptation so much?
The fact that they're not married to the way it is in the books. They're not married
Oh.
to the details. And they're allowing themselves not just creative license with casting and all of that, but also with the aesthetics and the way that the world is built. You know, it's the difference between the 1995 Pride and Prejudice and the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, where one is super, you know, married to how it really would have been, and one is giving you the feels. And they're allowing sex to work in a way in the show that it doesn't work in the novels, but still works for the audience. They allow the big moments that are in the books to still be on screen, but be adapted in a way that is less problematic. I mean, there's a lot going on that they're doing that I think is just really top notch for adaptation. And adaptation is my world. That's where I sit. I love books to screen, whatever they are.
Yeah.
So the fact that this one is so good is, I think, really hopeful for like the way adaptations will move forward in the future.
Do you think that, because you've been doing this for a while now, do you think that having that full creativity to be able to move pieces around in a book to adaptation to movie or TV screen, do you think that allows like for these really record numbers of people watching it? Do you think that matters a lot? Do you think that it contributes to the success of a lot of adaptations today?
I think that it's a delicate balance because some shows try really hard to hew close to what the source material is and miss the soul of it. If you can get the soul of what you're doing and give people just like the hints of the moments that matter, you're going to win in terms of adaptation. And a lot of times showrunners are just like, you know, they're taking so many creative liberties that they miss the heart of it. And I don't think that Shonda Lynn did that. They get the heart perfectly well.
What's an adaptation? Let's get a little controversial. What's an adaptation that miserably failed?
Oh Jesus. Well, part of the reason that we had a big audience right as we were starting the Cool Table was because of Outlander. I had read Outlander back in like 2010, and I was aware of the show as it was coming to fruition, and I was one of the only people writing about it on the internet. So we got a lot of attention because I had written so much stuff about it. And so we were involved in it from the beginning. We were at all the red carpets and all of that.
Wow.
And yeah, the first season I thought was great. But I have a show called Hang Outlander that we've gone through every single episode of that show. But I sat down with the executive producer at Sony who brought the show to Stars at dinner at Comic-Con the year it was premiering. And we were talking about the first episode, and nobody else at the table had seen the first episode yet except for me and him. I had gotten to see it early, and I'm talking to him about this particular scene in the first episode where Claire is with her first husband, the guy that she leaves in time or whatever, and I don't know how what your level of spice on your content is, but
Oh, you're good.
They have a sex act that they perform, or he performs on her, that is not in the books for a specific reason. When she meets Jamie Fraser, the Highlander in the past, he's the first person to ever do that to her. And informs a lot of their relationship, right? And I asked this executive producer, I said, why did you have Frank do that to her? And he was like, well, we wanted to show that she was like sexually adventurous and a woman, who knew what she wanted. And I was like, you're missing the soul of it. That's not what's supposed to happen between these characters. And he didn't get it. And I remember like just being like, man, are they going to screw it up? And in so many ways they haven't, but in a lot more ways they have. Like we have noticed, like just throughout the years, it has steadily lost the soul of what those books are supposed to be about. They've made really bad choices. They've made great ones. I mean, the person they cast as their lead for Claire Fraser is amazing, but they've made other ones that miss the soul of what those books are supposed to be. And I don't think those books are perfect by any means, but they meant a lot to me, and the show kind of ruined a little bit of that for me.
Wow. Okay, let's flip-flop for a second.
Okay.
Is there a fandom or book series where you would love to see an adaptation? And also, would you, because I feel like you have, since you have such this experience, I feel like you would be awesome to have like as someone for a reference in terms of making sure that a show runs smoothly or it flows the way it's supposed to in the books. And I think that the disconnect between reader and then producer, director, whoever happens a lot. So which fandom do you think deserves to have their adaptation next?
There's a lot that's coming to mind that I would love to see. But one that doesn't get talked about a lot that I think would make a fantastic show is the original Sinners series by Tiffany Rice.
Okay.
Either of you heard of it?
I feel like I have before.
So the first book is called The Siren, and there's 8 books, and it is a bonkers BDSM erotica series. The head of that series, or the main woman in that series, is an erotica author who is also a professional dominatrix, but she used to be the submissive to a Catholic priest who's a sadist. And I know that sounds completely bonkers, but it all revolves around this BDSM club called the Eighth Circle. And there's, a guy who's in charge of that, and he has power over all of these like politicians and people that come through and use their services. And the erotica author's got all of these people. It is a just amazing series with some fantastic characters. And it would just be so hot to have on screen and really take kind of like the 50 Shades stuff that's so banal and not good, and give like life to that end of the way what people want to read and what they want to see with something that's just spicy and delicious. I would love it.
Oh my God. Okay, wait.
Sounds like there could be a really good, very interesting who's involved in that club. I mean, the stories I'm sure would be very deep and interesting.
It would be dark, but also like very romantic, and also give like life to diverse sexualities and like diverse ways of exploring your sexuality, because it's not just BDSM. There's so much polyamory and pansexuality and stuff in that series that would just it would provide an outlet for empathy for people who don't know what that means in that space, and I would love to see it.
I'm gonna have to read this series. I tell you that.
Oh, it's so
Sierra's
good.
taking notes.
I am.
I haven't talked about it enough on my TikTok. I mean to. I've mentioned it a couple of times in like bigger, recommendations, but I haven't done like a series of recommendations on it. I probably should, because I really do love it.
Beth, earlier I mentioned that some of my favorite posts that you do are the kind of relatable everyday life posts. I talked earlier about the post that made me cackle on the floor was the air fryer on your birthday
Oh my
that sat
God.
on the table. But I love that you share so much. You share a lot about talking about your kids, about just life in Memphis. Hey, from Nashville. But
Hi.
what made that kind of come into your social media presence?
I guess because I'm very open. I'm a very much an open book. I don't mind people knowing where I am or who I am or what I care about. But I have another account that is not book related, and it's not meant really to be. It's not meant to be public. It's just kind of like a more personal account. And I did a silly stitch with something back in September where I mentioned something about my husband, and it went mega viral. It's sitting at like 7 million views.
Oh,
So that account, yeah, and I didn't mean for it to, but
Right.
that account has like 16,000 followers, and I'm not even really making content over there. And so I thought, well, if they really like silly stuff about my husband over there, like maybe I can just get them to do it on my book talk where I'd like to get more followers. So my husband also was big in the Outlander fandom with me. We wrote a series called Things My Husband Says During Outlander, and he got duped or deemed Blurtlander because he would just get drunk and say horrible things during the show, and I would type it all out. And he got like a little bit of a celebrity status in the fandom for a while. So he's hilarious, and if I can get him on Book Talk, I think the numbers would soar because he's very silly and funny.
That is too fun. No, we love those posts, and I love when people are comfortable to show more of themselves like that. I
Absolutely.
think it's awesome.
So what are you doing outside of what do you do for outside of books and entertainment and whatnot? What does Beth do for fun? Where's she
Oh,
hanging
for
out at?
fun?
Yes.
I'm not hanging out anywhere right now.
Yeah.
I haven't been anywhere in 2 years. I used to go to cons and go out of town and do things, and I sit at home. But I am going to Newport in a couple of weeks to see my friend Amy, who's part of the Cool Table. We're going to go visit all the Gilded Age mansions.
Oh,
She lives there in
wow.
Newport, and we're going to go do
Newport
that.
is exceptional.
Yeah, so she's excited to show me around Newport. What else do I do? Not much. I have 2 teenage daughters. I follow them around and try to be cool with them occasionally. See if they let me like take them places. I do a lot of thrifting. I love thrift stores. I spend a lot of time thrifting books and clothes and stuff like that. And I enjoy like fixing up our house. We've lived here for six years, and we've almost renovated every space in the house. So my husband and I are constantly doing that kind of stuff too.
Are your
Where are you
daughters on
originally from?
TikTok? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Memphis. I've lived here my whole life.
You are. Very cool. Love
Are you
it.
from Nashville?
I'm not. I'm originally from Annapolis, Maryland, but I moved here
Okay.
6 years ago for work.
Nice. I prefer
Haven't-
Memphis. I don't want to say that I don't
cover
like Nashville,
Memphis-
but
No, I cover Memphis for work. But I have not been there in 2 years. So travel restricted.
yeah.
So I was listening to the podcast and I heard you said that they had recorded a Real Housewives of Memphis, but it never came to air.
Yeah.
Can you give us like the rundown about that a little bit?
So my hairstylist is, and she's awesome, and she has a lot of important people in Memphis coming to see her. And she was telling me that there was somebody in her salon who had been part of the Real Housewives of Memphis, I guess, pilot.
Yeah.
And it just didn't take off. And we were trying to figure out why, like, what about Memphis, like, wouldn't have the same kind of Atlanta vibes or whatever. And I'm not sure yet. I'm not enough in the, like, bougie area of Memphis to understand like what, because I think I knew a couple of the ladies that were in it, and I was like, that would be incredible. I don't even watch reality TV, and I think it would be incredible. So I think maybe it's just the market. I think people think that Memphis is a little bit like less interesting and urban than it is, and it's one of the best cities in the country. So I don't know, but it didn't take off.
Interesting. So I did want to ask, are your daughters on TikTok? Do you follow them, or are they like embarrassed by you and have you blocked like most teenagers?
My oldest has been on since it was Musical.ly.
Oh,
She's
wow,
had
yeah.
one for forever and ever. And she has, of course, seen my TikToks. She was aware when my very first one went viral. All of her friends were like, "Oh, your mom is going viral." And she was embarrassed about that. So she does not follow me. I do not follow her, although I have seen her TikToks. They're dumb. I mean, they're teenager. Like, she's walking around with her friends and they're doing dumb dances. She's not making like content. My other daughter does not like social media and does not have it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. Well, she's very into YouTube and Discord and that. She's a gamer. She's into like Twitch and stuff, but she does not like Instagram or Snap or any of that.
Awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. I love that
very
there's two
opposite.
completely different personalities there. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I'm sure that makes for interesting conversations. Do your daughters read a lot as well? Or is that just a you thing?
Not as much as I would like. I mean, a lot of the books that I have, I kept because I thought this is such a great series. They'll love it one day, and they're not into it. And then, of course, sometimes I give them stuff and they really do love it. They don't read as much as I would like for them to, but they're still in school. They're so busy. They have some, they're reading To Kill a Mockingbird and all that stuff. They don't really want to pick up the YA series that I kept in 2011 for them. They're just, they're not into that right now.
Yet.
Yeah, maybe one day. They keep telling me like one day they're gonna have to just get rid of all of this. Like it's gonna be their job to be like, God, we gotta sell Mom's library now. Is she gonna be mad at us if we get rid of this one? And
So were books something that were always a big part of your life, or were you always a reader, or did this just kind of happen over the pandemic like most of us?
no, it was it was important to me. I mean, I still remember I have a tattoo of the first book that I remember picking up at the library. It was I loved Scholastic book fairs. Like that's that was my whole childhood. I was a theater kid and a theater nerd. So I was reading Shakespeare all the time, thinking I was cool. I started a literary magazine in high school. I majored in literature. That was my whole thing. So it's always been a big deal, but really honestly, 2008, 2009, reading Twilight. I know that's so cliche and sounds so ridiculous, but it sparked me understanding that my reading was not for other people's consumption. It was for mine. And I had the perfect opportunity to look at all of the other genres that I wasn't reading and take them seriously and care about them in ways that just, enhanced my life instead of it being something that enhanced my resume or whatever. Yeah. So I've always read 50 books a year, but they used to always be the same. I used to read Lord of the Rings every summer, and I've read Jane Austen 7 times. I used to just read them over and over again instead of picking up something new.
Right.
Well, I have to ask, what is your bookish tattoo, and what was that first library book? Will you share?
It's. Can you tell what it is, or is it too? It's the lamppost from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So
my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, I remember where it was in my library in elementary school, and it was the first one that I just picked up on my own and decided to read. And of course, every kid ends up reading that series, I think. But it ended up being the first play I was ever in too, so it meant a lot to me when I was little.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I love it. One theater kid to another. Love it.
Yeah.
Are you still reading a lot of classics today? I know Ryan is a big fan of classics. Not necessarily my favorite genre. I can't say that I have experience with it, but I'm always interested to understand what about it pulls you in and makes that it means so much to you guys. I'm just kind of interested to know.
Sometimes. I mean, I picked up Langston Hughes during Black History Month just to refresh my memory on what I loved about that when I first, read that. Or sometimes I'll read a little bit of Shakespeare just to feel it again. But it's not something that I pick up on a regular basis for fun or for entertainment or for pleasure. I haven't read an Austen book in a few years, despite the fact that I love those. I haven't picked up Toni Morrison or, Dostoevsky or anything like that in a really long time, just because there's so much else to do and to read.
Yeah.
And I've read them. I feel like I was very much immersed in Hemingway and Faulkner and Carson McCullers. I don't really want to go back for right now.
Right. Understood. Yeah.
Shakespeare is that interesting one. I feel like that it's such a good one. Just even one little verse, you're like,
yeah.
And Shakespeare's so interesting because I always go into them. That's what I read the most classic wise. And it is because end up having to kind of dissect it and really think about what it says. And I find myself in a lot of other books like glazing over and just like I'm getting lost in the page and all of a sudden I'm done with the story. Shakespeare, I sit there and I'm like, okay, but what did this mean in this context?
Yeah.
Who is the black lady? Let's talk about it. Like there's so many interesting pieces of that. And it's City Winery, friend in Tennessee. They're doing Drunken Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
So
Fun.
they've got Hamlet and I think Macbeth coming up in May.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
I think so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, I like to read Shakespeare for the psychology. Like, I tend to, like, because I'm writing as well, and I'm thinking, okay, what was it about Macduff that made me understand? You know what I mean? Like, I need the psychology of how is he so good at giving us so much with so little? And that tends to be why I pick it up. I'm like, okay, I don't remember what I loved about this character. I'm going to go back and read and find the couplet that really made me understand them, that kind of thing.
This is like
Did
totally
you just
off
say
topic.
you're writing?
Oh, I was just about to say it. Tell
Writing
us.
a book?
Yes, I have 2 books that I'm in the process of writing, and I am a procrastinator. So it is the most slow going process of all time. I can write a book review. I can write a whole recap of a show. I can write a pop culture treatise and a rant in an hour and have it fully formatted and online. And writing a chapter of my book will take me a month. I can't, but I don't force myself to sit and do it. I have to be obliged. You know, like I have to have somebody expecting something of me to do it. No one's expecting that of me, so it's
Right.
not getting done.
So you've never participated in what's it called? NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo.
I mean, how many times have I signed up to do NaNoWriMo is the real question. It's been several. But have I completed it? No. Because there's nobody like over my shoulder saying, you got to do it. So,
Yeah. What genres are your 2? Are you willing to share?
well, one of them is I want to say it's a period piece, but it's a 90s YA.
Hell yeah.
It's almost like in Dairy Girls and what is the other?
Great show.
All of a sudden I can't think of what it is. It's over there on my thing. My Mad Fat Diary. Did y'all ever see that? It was an English show. It's set in like 1996 and it's so perfect. But kind of like in that frame, 90s girls, 90s fashion, but also a little not autobiographical, but just kind of what I know. I was a church kid. My dad's a preacher. And it's called Church Girls. At least right now, the working title is Church Girls. But it's very steeped in 90s culture, which I really love.
I love it. I
Very
can't wait whenever you
interesting.
do finish it.
If I ever do.
Yes,
I think it's time for us to switch.
Let's do
up,
it.
And we're going to do our show and tell. Every episode, we ask our guests to bring us something that either that represents them or that they're really enjoying or anything off them shelves that they want to share. So, Beth, lay it on us. What you got? What are you showing and telling today?
This was so hard. Like, how do you encompass what you think about books in like a thing?
I know.
So I brought a couple, but I'll show only one. So this is Check Please by Ngozi Ugazu. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
I have.
Wow.
I
But
have.
I backed her very first Kickstarter. I was reading this when she was still on her Tumblr, like in year 1, like really, really early on. And I loved it so much. And every time she would update, it was so exciting because you knew how much work she was putting into like her incredible art and like these characters are some of my favorites. It's one of the only like fan fiction fandoms I went back into after I was kind of done with fan fiction. And so like I love that I have all of her Kickstarter stuff. I have a curio cabinet upstairs in my guest room and it's got tons of Check Please stuff in it. Like it's just so dorky and cute. Like that room looks like my grandmother lived in it, except there's like a web comic with all of this sporty hockey stuff in there as well. So
How many did she release? How many of the...
there's 4. I think the 4th Kickstarter has not, whatever you call it. It's not done yet. But there's 4 of them. There's 4 years, so there's 4 books, and then they were traditionally published, and in like 2 volumes, I think.
Okay.
So
What's a
yeah.
little for those of us who don't know? What's a little synopsis of the story?
Check Please is about Eric Biddle. He's a former figure skater from Georgia. who goes to college in a imaginary college on the northeast upper northeast coast, and he ends up on the hockey team because he's able to skate and be really fast, and he's afraid of checking because he was bullied, he was thrown into lockers, that kind of thing, and so he has panic attacks, and the big burly Canadian hockey captain of his team has to kind of get him out of that fear, and in the process they fall in love.
Oh,
that's a spoiler, but is it a spoiler? And it's not a spoiler.
No, it's not really a spoiler.
Well,
Oh my God, that's so
it'll make
cute.
me read it.
I know,
he's
right?
It's so cute, and he's also a baker. Like, he comes in and he like bakes pies and for everybody all the time. So he's like this sweet Southern ice dancing hockey player who falls in love with like the very athletic like king of hockey, who's his captain. And there's just a whole host of characters that are wonderful, and it's one of my favorite webcomics of all time. It's so good.
Oh my God, that sounds so cute.
That
Okay.
sounds really good.
Check, please, indeed.
Check.
Yes.
Check, please. All
What
right.
a great show and tell. And you
I
were one of the first
know.
Kickstarters. That's impressive.
Yeah, she was pretty popular by the time she started her Kickstarter. But I was like, I'm doing it all. I'll get it all. I want you to have all the success. So, I just backed Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter, and
Wild.
that's a totally different world. I'm like, you don't need me, but I must have your books.
The last time I heard, he was at what, four? Was it
25
4?
million?
45.
25 million.
Oh
Like,
my God.
yeah, I don't even know at this point. Ridiculous.
Oh my God. Good for him.
That is
Yeah.
good for him, yeah.
Yeah,
for him.
good for me, because I'm going to get to read those books in 2023. I'm excited.
I've never read any
True.
of his stuff before, but so many people review it and talk about him. I heard he's pretty
I
awesome.
haven't either. I haven't read anything of his.
I assumed you did because you said you were.
Same. No, you just wanted to be a part. You know what? You go,
Fair
Beth.
enough.
I like it. I'm into
Yeah,
that.
I can't handle that kind of
Supportive.
FOMO. I cannot. I can't. It's too much.
Were you in on the Broken Blade when they were trying to decipher who the writer was? Were you in on that?
No. No, only because I don't think I'm book talk and known enough to have. I have no idea. I don't. I'm not popular enough. I had no idea anything about that. So no.
Yeah.
I didn't feel FOMO about that. It didn't hit me like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brandon Sanderson having 4 books that you can only get this way. Yeah, that would make that I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really smart on his part. That was really, really smart.
Oh yeah. And then somebody in my comments, I made a video about him. Somebody said that he's like the Dean Koontz of fantasy, and I was like, "Don't tell me that.
Oh no.
I don't want to hear that.
Oh,
That makes me
no.
sick."
I
I'm
did
like,
get
"Please
the
tell me
weird.
you're wrong."
I know when everyone said, "I can't believe he did 4. He's written 4 or 5 books on top of the other 2 that were coming out." And I'm like, okay, but those could have also been in the works for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody. Don't cancel us, but we all have drafts of things. So I was like, did all of those 7 get written in the time?
Yeah, yeah. And then somebody else is like, is he like the Thomas Kincaid of books? Like he could just churn a couple of these out every hour and they're all the same. I hope not. I really
And they're
hope
pretty
not.
thick books. His stuff is they're
They
not
look, yeah.
they're not short
Yeah, they're
reads
serious.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, they're serious fantasy. So
Yeah.
You
we'll
let
see.
us know how it goes.
Yeah,
Beth.
please
You'll
do. I
keep us
really I
posted.
can't wait to hear your review when you get it. I need to know. And
I'll
I'm
take
expecting
one for the team.
Yeah, please, because I need to know, is it something I missed out on? Because I do love a good fantasy.
Me too.
Speaking of fantasies, are you watching? I don't know if this counts, but The Witcher. Are you into that fandom?
I saw Henry Cavill at the Witcher panel at the last Comic-Con that he had, and I was kind of like, this doesn't feel like it's up my alley. My husband and I tried it, and he didn't want to watch it. So usually, if he's not into it, I have a hard time getting him to watch a television show that he's not into. And Henry Cavill's really kind of not my favorite. He's not enough of a draw for me to watch a show. I'll put it that way. I do like him, but I don't need to watch Henry Cavill.
Wow.
Sarah, you
I
feel
thought
differently? Sarah feels
I'm
differently.
shocked because I was expecting to be like, yeah, and I think this and this because I can't get into the show. So I was kind of hoping you would be able to talk me into it.
I don't think it's that good.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
then I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, we watched about 3 or 4 episodes, and I was like, this isn't hitting.
Okay.
So
People love
Don't feel
it
bad.
though, and they love the series, and so I thought maybe someone. I just was trying to get into this series, but I guess that'll never happen. It'll never
It's
happen.
okay. I think that fantasy television is the hardest genre to get right because sometimes it looks so cheesy sometimes to see certain things and then they fall, Game of Thrones falls apart in the end and people are disappointed. So I mean, it's hard. You gotta really keep it together. So
True.
Please, you just said some trigger words.
Sorry.
That one burns me up so much every time it's
For real.
mentioned. It's such
know.
a hard. Sometimes I want to cry to think about the how awesome it could have ended in the way that it didn't. It is so disappointing, especially as someone who watched from the beginning. I'd never read the books, but I watched from the beginning. I was hardcore Game of Thrones fan, like Arya Stark hive. That was me, like,
Yep.
and I think that's like, and then like how just kind of going back to what I was saying, like that's so important to have someone like you who would like be in that production area, so that the writers and the producers or whoever know how important these characters are and how to move the story forward, even if the books themselves haven't been finished yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you would be awesome. I'm just really talking up whatever this job is for you.
Please, I would love to be in a writer's room and just be like, no.
Because we need you. We really do need you. There are so many times you're like watching adaptations. You're like, what the hell? Like, I wish there was someone in the room for Ready Player One because that movie was absolutely terrible. That movie was terrible. And I loved the book. So, yeah. All right, Beth, I think we are going to switch over to our last subtopic of the day.
All right.
And this is our rapid fire questions. 10 quick questions, very easy. You won't break a sweat, I promise. We'll alternate back and forth. Ryan will start it off. And as soon as I can find them on this phone. Okay, I got them. I'm ready.
All right. At Beth at the Cool Table. Are you ready for some quick wit?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Morning, noon, or night?
Noon.
Favorite book growing up or your favorite book from high school?
Persuasion was my favorite book in high school. Still one of my favorites. Yeah.
Where are you a regular?
There's a little pizza place I live in Bartlett, Tennessee. It's a suburb of Memphis. It's used to be a Milano's and now it's called Isabella's Pizza, and it's owned by some friends of ours, and my daughter absolutely loves it. They know when we walk in that she's going to have 2 slices of cheese with extra sauce buckets, and we go about once every 2 weeks, just me and my daughter. So that's where I'm a regular.
So cute. A celeb that's a friend in your head or a celeb crush that you have?
Oh, I have met many a celebrity, having gone to several Comic-Cons and done press interviews and stuff like that. But my favorite that I've ever met and talked to is Tobias Menzies. He plays Black Jack Randall in Outlander, and he's in Game of Thrones, and you've seen him in all. And he is wonderful. And I just, because I have like videos of us chatting, I'm like, he's my best friend. He is not, but I do love him. And I think he is fantastically smart and a wonderful, wonderful actor. And I just, anytime he wants to hang out with me, I'm like, hi, Tobias. He doesn't know me, but I like to pretend he does.
Oh, okay.
Friend in your head for that reason.
That's
we love
right.
it. If you could take us anywhere in the world tomorrow, where are we going? Tobias can come.
I really love Edinburgh. It's my favorite city, and I haven't spent enough time there. And it's where I'd like to go back immediately if I get to travel soon. I love it there.
Do you fall asleep to music, TV, or nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Silence, darkness. I want it to be cold and calm and completely quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your best Halloween costume ever?
Oh, goodness. We used to do family group costumes. That was a thing until my kids were like, no. But my daughter loved dinosaurs growing up, and one year she wanted to be Alan Grant, and so I went as is it Ellie? Why can I not remember? Ellie Sattler. So I went as Ellie Sattler and had a little T-Rex under my arm, and she was Alan Grant, and we were adorable. That's
so
my favorite.
Cute.
Oh, good.
I love that. What is your theme song or your favorite go-to karaoke song?
Oh man, Well, as a musical theater person who sings really well, I don't do karaoke.
Whoa. Okay.
Because I hate to show people up like that. But
You know,
I do love I want to dance with somebody. I'll do that one occasionally. That's my
Can never
favorite.
go wrong with Whitney.
never.
That's right.
Never.
She's the queen.
How many books have you read this year?
Oh, 20, 22 or so.
Wow.
Something like I can't remember. I don't remember how many I read in January exactly, but something like that.
Last question. What was the last thing to make you smile?
Other than this podcast, my little brother just had a baby. She's 2 weeks old, and I spent the day with her yesterday, and she was precious. Was very happy to kiss on her face for a while, especially because my kids don't really let me do that anymore. So she made me smile.
Congratulations to your little brother. I saw that you guys had guessed the same word in Wordle.
Fjord?
Fjord?
Fjord.
I had to show my husband. I don't Wordle, but he does. And I was like, babe, do you know what this is? Can you explain why this is funny? What is fjord?
It's so random. It's such a random word.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we had used up a lot of letters yet.
Yeah.
What in the world?
That was strange.
I was like, something's happening. There's a unit. There's some kind of
The
multiverse
simulation is
happening.
off today.
Yes, it was awful. I was like, I don't like this. Can you? And we wanted to like text our sister and see if she had done the same thing, but neither one of us had the guts to find out.
You gotta ask. You gotta ask. It's kind of important now, you know.
I
But
know
yeah.
we should have.
Yeah. Beth, we really appreciated having you on this show today. Can you let everyone know where they can find you? All of the things. Give us all the rundown.
All the plugs.
All right.
All the
All right.
plugs.
So we're, at the cool_table here and on Twitter. I think our Instagram is just at the cool table. And then I'm personally B.E. Thorne on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, Goodreads. So B.E. Thorne with an E. That's who I am. And our website is atthecooltable.com. So go find us. We have all kinds of YouTube videos about Bridgerton and A Discovery of Witches and Outlander and a bunch of other things. And yeah, that's where I am.
So much fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely.
Sarah will be smiling all day.
I will.
Me too.
This is the highlight of my day. Thank you,
Aw.
Beth.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we just finished with Beth at the cool table. How you feeling, friend?
Excited. I really, 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 really enjoyed her. She's so funny. She's so fun. And so much experience.
A ton. The English background is vast. Very, very interesting how all of that background. I love finding readers on Book Talk who have been reading forever, and it's almost like the Book Talk. This is kind of different for a lot of the talks we've had. For Beth, Book Talk was after.
Yes.
It wasn't this, you know what I mean? Which I think is cool.
I love that it's not like a defining point for her. Like she already had her defining point in her journey. And I love that. Okay, let's just talk about how she just kind of was like, oh yeah, I was on a panel and I just kind of like with an exec from Sony, and I just
sitting
told him
at
I
dinner
thought,
with the executive producer of Outlander. I was like, okay, we're a frequent at the Comic-Cons.
and basically told him that you fucked up that first episode, which I love.
I mean, it is. Beth is on it, like a really just honest and true. I loved hearing about Bridgerton. And that I've not read those novels, but I was obsessed with the show. I went full deep on Bridgerton the musical, and finding out that those stories are blurry in the show is kind of cool. I almost thought when Beth started talking, it was going to be the opposite, and that it was that they did so well because they stayed so close to the source material. And when we said, why was it so great? And because it allowed for that breathing room was a really interesting answer, I felt like.
I mean, I knew that because I'm not sure, but I know that all the characters are white in the books. I believe. So, yeah, yes,
Oh,
yeah. So, I I am a little shocked when you think about what Shondaland has done, and because they're even bringing in like all kinds of
absolutely. The
different races.
Queen.
It's a
I mean,
really
beautiful.
diverse. Yes, yeah, it's a
Hmm.
diverse cast, and that's why I really just wanted her opinion on like, does she think that these series are having or TV shows or whatever are having these huge record numbers is because they're moving so much kind of from the source material in the sense of race and representation and things like that. And I am kind of interested to go back and read the first book because there is a character who is kind of like, is he bi? Is he bi? What? Or he's curious, right? The
The
one of the brothers.
I don't remember. Oh, actually, you are right. You are right
Yeah.
because he goes to the brothel and he hooks up with that couple. You're correct.
Yes.
You
Yes.
are
Yeah.
correct.
And so
Very
I'm like,
interesting.
is that source material? Or is that something that was added,
Mm,
because of the time? So now I have like a lot of questions that I need
that's
answered.
very
But
interesting.
yeah. But Beth was awesome, and then just like I love how she's been doing this at the cool table with her friends, and it seems like it was just kind of something that just happened, and then they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna go run with this, and we're gonna make it our full time thing. Which, how often are you afforded the opportunity to do something you truly love, and really have so much access to do things like go to Comic Cons and interview people and sit on have dinners with Sony produce execs,
Yeah. And there's a lot of background knowledge that you have to have industry wise. Not have to, but I think aids in doing it well because going through when Beth was talking about doing the Outlander, I forget what exactly it was called, but the by episode watch parties to kind of break each episode down into those mechanics. It takes a real discerning eye and someone who knows not only the source material but production and it was a very very cool and very fun that the husband is involved too. Hey Hubs, we
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. I love that in the beginning, when she was talking about her Twilight fandom and how she learned that she doesn't have to read for everyone else, and that reading for is just for her own interest, which is so important. And I think that is something that could actually get lost amongst us on the book talk community, reading what everyone else is reading, and because you're feeling for that fear of FOMO, which she talks about with the Brandon
So
Sanderson,
funny. Yeah.
which is hilarious, right?
Yep.
But that's so important that I definitely think that we all should be reading for things that bring us the most joy, and it's satisfying for us personally. So I'm a fan of Beth. I love
I
her
am
so
too. I
much.
need to stop rolling my eyes when people say Twilight because how fucking rude am I? What the hell? Just
Listen, we've all been, and just honestly, I want to tell her, like her, I didn't read the books until after I saw the first movie. And my mother
oh
and my brother convinced me to watch the first movie. Cause like her, I was making fun of everyone else who was watching and reading Twilight. And then sure enough became a part of the fandom. So it's
wow.
nice to see that, we're not so far off in that sense as well.
And that
She's
fandom is
amazing.
having a resurgence of life right now as their queen is Oscared up with Spencer and their king
Mm,
is living up in the streets of Gotham. So very interesting that both of
yes.
them are kind of having a resurgence in this year. So
I
interesting.
know, and it's so hard to see them outside of that. But that's for me. I can't see them outside of that because I went to go
Mm.
see the Batman last night. Actually,
You did.
I did. We can talk about it later. We'll talk
Yes, I
about
want
it
to
later.
know. Okay, I want to
Yeah,
know.
but yeah,
Mm.
Beth was awesome. I enjoyed her. I definitely want to spend more time on like listening to her podcast and seeing what else they're talking about. I love talking about pop culture and things like that. So I am just excited to see what she does next. I really am.
I know. Really, really interesting person. Seems like Beth is like the coolest mom.
She
It's like
is the
cool mom
cool
at the cool
table.
table. You are. Uh-huh.
Yes, yes,
Sure is.
sure is. With that being said, I think that is it, friend.
That's it
Thank
for
you
us this
guys.
episode. Yep.
Yeah. Please be sure to follow us on the social media. We are on TikTok at sierra.and.ryan, and we're also on YouTube at sierra.and.ryan.talktok.
TALKT. Okay.
Yes. And don't forget, we are on a few streaming platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play. So please, and we're on YouTube. So please, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, leave a comment, review, share, all of the good things.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Let us know who you want to see next, what you loved about Beth at the Cool Table, and we will be excited to take it all in and talk next time.